Okay. Looks like the people coming in has slowed down. So I'm just going to start first with any questions. If we have any questions around anything so far, or anything to do with your sittings. Just waiting. I'm good. Did anyone have any experiences that are new or different with your sitting in the power this week? Any questions around any of that? Brittany?
I don't know if it's a question, not so much a question, but I experienced something that I've never experienced before, and
Mhm.
I try to meditate, quite relatively regularly. But when I was doing that exercise, because I had to watch the recording of the class, the one, I think it was last week's class where when we invited our spirit guides in.
Mhm.
I experienced a lot of the things that other people said, but something that was different for me was like this, like I don't know, like I felt like this. Um, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a like within, like I almost like lost my breath for a moment.
Mhm.
And I felt it like in my, I don't know how to explain it. It was like like a physical reaction to my body as opposed to being like, if that makes sense. It
Mhm.
was interesting. It was very interesting.
There's a lot of strange things that sometimes our bodies do when we are starting to interact more with this kind of energy. So
Okay.
because that is, not something that maybe we're used to as much. And so we will have sort of weird things like that. And there can be things with breath like that where you're kind of like as you're
Yeah.
moving to these different experiences. So totally normal.
Okay.
So nothing to worry about at all. Jennifer?
First of all, I want to apologize if I start hacking and coughing while I'm talking because I'm still trying to get over whatever this is. Um, I had a, I had a weird thing happen twice while doing sitting in the power. Um, when I was in the meditative state and I was just following along to the recording, and it literally felt like someone rushed up and got in my space, like if a human came and got in my space. And I kind of have a big personal bubble in person in life, and I wasn't afraid of this, but it was uncomfortable to me because someone was in my space. And this happened twice, and I just mentally was like, "Can you step back a little? You're making me really uncomfortable." And they didn't step back. So I ended up having to stop meditating because it just was making me personally uncomfortable. They were too close.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So what I want to say is actually it's a good thing when they are close. So there's a couple things I want to address here. So one, there are you feeling sort of afraid of spirit, or is just the idea that something is close with you?
It's just, I have a big bubble. I don't like being physically touched. I don't like being hugged. I don't like people in my space. It's not a fear thing. It's just, it's
Uncomfortable.
uncomfortable the way it would be if someone came up and started tapping you in the shoulder and wouldn't stop.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It
Okay.
felt like that to me.
Okay. So that may be something you need to sit with as far as like this kind of work goes, because you're going to be experiencing a lot of physical sensations. There's going to be a
Okay.
lot of touching, there's going to be a lot of blending energy. And that's a part of how we get the information to come through. So
Okay.
it may be something that you just need to sort of sit with and ask yourself more questions around, like, why do I feel like this? And why in this particular situation am I responding or acting like this with this? But that's probably a guide of yours that's just there with you, not something to be concerned about in any way. Even if it was just another spirit person, same thing, nothing to be concerned about in any way. Try to remember, yes, in the physical world, we want to have boundaries for both, sure, but we want to have physical boundaries with ourselves because other physical beings, can hurt us and, all sorts of different reasons. But with the spirit world, it's not quite the same because it's more of like energetic. It's more of a we're kind of all a big part of the soup. We're like you're a little chunk of carrot. I'm a little chunk of onion. I don't, we're all like whatever, but we're in the soup together, the energetic soup here. So when that energetic awareness is happening and so they're intermingling, that is actually the normal state of things. The idea that we are separate and we keep ourselves separate while in the physical, yes, makes sense. Yeah. But like energetically, spiritually, it's not what the reality is. Does that make sense? So, like when it comes to spirit, there may be like a different change of mentality that needs to come up when working in this capacity versus like in life with your physicality with people. Does that make sense? So, and like you still can have like boundaries with like, yes, I work now, I don't work now, I'm sitting now, I'm not sitting now, I'm just normal. Those are the kind of boundaries we want you to have and to get used to not have that door always open. But otherwise, it will probably just be a process for you to get used to. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we're here to support you. If you have any kind of like things you need to kind of work out with that, and we will try our best. Obviously, we can only do that to a certain capacity. And then, I'm always telling people therapy is great. I'm not saying you need it, Jennifer, but I think everyone needs it at the same time. So yeah, we're real big on pro therapies, all different kinds of therapies. But thank you for sharing that. I hope that like it starts to get a little easier for you as we're, especially today, you're probably going to be feeling spirit with you as we're starting to connect with loved ones, because we will be, and just for everyone, we will be doing that today. And we will be focusing heavily on feeling. So, and we will be going all through, the steps of what we're doing to connect with spirit, the mechanics and understanding of that. And oh, there's Michael. Hi, Michael.
Howdy.
Hi.
I just wanted to add to that. It's okay to have that, as you said, Megan, with like living people. It won't be productive to have that here. So whatever you need to do to kind of realize that actually they're already there. The only difference is that I'm becoming aware of them. Does that make sense? So like they're there, whether you are, aware of them or not, they're our worlds, and we're in worlds within worlds. So they're already on top of you, constantly have spirit around you and all these sorts of things because our worlds are on top of each other. So it's better. The only difference is that you just become aware of them. So the more that you become comfortable with it here might actually impact regular life where you're a little bit more comfortable with that in that space as well. But it will be important to move through that so that you can be the best medium that you could possibly be. So just recognize nothing to fear from the spirit world, only positive things. And yeah, it doesn't have to be a challenge if we don't want it to be, essentially. So, okay. Thanks, Emily.
So I think I have an issue with I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So I'm wondering, like, when you're sitting in the power, are you supposed to be in your mind's eye picturing the things happening, or just letting that go and not picturing it?
Correct. The last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think that's been my biggest issue.
Yeah, you don't want to be picturing everything. In fact, you want to ignore any visuals whatsoever while you are doing that. You treat them the way you're going to treat everything that you experience, whether that is the pictures, whether that is feelings. You're going to notice it, accept it, let it go. We're a little bit more okay with you having more of awareness of your feelings because those are things that are going to arise that you have no control over, so to speak. They're going to be a byproduct of your specific area of awareness. So when you are nice and relaxed, you can feel a lot more, right? But you don't have to be relaxed to have a bunch of visuals. Your brain can just make things up or add to it. And so this is why we kind of lean you a little bit more towards what am I feeling? Because that's harder to make up, where your pictures are easy to kind of create. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So just if whenever you're saying like to picture where our light source is, I'm not picturing it. I just know it's happening.
Yes. In the meditation I basically say like, believe it, like, don't worry if you don't see it, just feel and know that it's there. It's more about you feeling the presence in the shift. It's really honestly a not intention, a suggestion. Like it's a suggestion to create the awareness of that power, that light, that whatever you want to call it. And it really actually doesn't matter if you don't see it. I don't ever see a white light when I'm doing it. I just feel and know that here comes this powerful divine energy that I'm opening myself up to, essentially.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Okie dokie. So then we'll just jump into today. Today we're going to be working on making a link to the spirit world. Sorry, Megan, was there anything you want to add to that, or?
Yeah, I do actually want to
Go
add
ahead.
one thing.
Sure.
So if images come up, what we want you to do is to remember what Michael said, is to notice, accept, let go. Don't push away. Like, don't try to go, oh no, there's an image. Ah! Like, don't do that, because that's creating tension, and that's creating the opposite effect of what we're trying to do, which is just surrender and just being, right? We're just like, whatever it is, fine. I'm gonna let it go, because we're focusing on not going into the mind and thinking, right? So if something comes, fine, it comes, it goes. Everything, it comes, it goes. That's what we're doing. So I just wanted to like put that in there, because I know, especially those of us that are perfectionists, will want to be like, oh no, I'm doing it wrong. I must push this away now. That's not what we're doing though. So I wanted to highlight that.
Good. Yeah, that's a really great reminder and suggestion. The other option, I think, is to be aware of more. So let's say you have something that is very obvious to you, like a picture or something like that. The way that you can learn to accept it, so like I can say to you, accept, but maybe you don't fully know what that means. It means acknowledge that it's there and then go, okay, great, that's there. What else am I aware of? So it's sort of like you're reopening your awareness, so it's not just focused on one thing. Does that make sense? So you kind of go back to that diffused awareness. So it's always a helpful thing. So what we're going to be doing today is making connection with the loved one. So last week you would have felt some sort of non-physical being. Did anyone do the exercise again? Okay, cool. A lot of people. Were you able to, was there anyone here who didn't feel anything the first time, but then felt something like while they weren't here? Okay, cool. Perfect. That's really good. And then has everyone felt something when they've done that exercise? So if you felt something, you can raise your hand just so I can see. Okay. And if you haven't been able to feel something, don't worry about it. We're going to see what happens today as we work. The interesting thing is kind of as we keep moving forward, sometimes when the goal is not to sense or feel, the goal is to bring forward evidence, somehow suddenly we start to feel things, because it's almost like here's where you're aiming for, and therefore you're not trying to get this other stuff that we have already gotten, and then boom, it works for you. So just be aware of that can change and be different. So the first thing that we need to talk about is the mechanics of mediumship and what that is. So when we say mechanics of mediumship, what we're referring to is sort of the process through which this works. So if you think of a link with the spirit world, you can think of it almost like a little triangle. So you have the medium here. So this is the medium, and they're becoming sensitive. You have the sitter here, right? And then you have the spirit person up here, okay? So you have this little triangle, and then what happens is basically the desire to connect comes from either the spirit or the sitter. And what will happen is that energy's desire from the sitter goes to the spirit person, which empowers the spirit person and then impresses the medium. When the medium speaks what they want, what the spirit person wants to impress them with, or whatever they're impressing with, it passes the energy back to the sitter to say, yes, right? I can understand that. When the sitter says yes, the energy goes back up to the spirit and then empowers it even more. So this strengthens this link. And then the medium gives more, and then they say yes. And then we get this sort of like boom, 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 passing of this energy that goes through the cycle. This is why getting the voice of your sitter is so helpful and so important. So us as mediums, we want to learn to elicit a response from our sitter. So when we receive information, we want to make sure that we're not just like talking just blabbering on and on and on and on and on and on and on about whatever it is that we're experiencing, we need to check in with our sitter so we can get their voice involved. That'll help to strengthen the link. You'll actually feel it. So when your sitter says yes, or they say no, or they say anything really, you will feel a change in the energy. And so that's something that we really want to be paying attention to throughout the whole time. This is why we emphasize feeling so much. So every time that you get a voice from the sitter, it's going to empower the communication, right? So this is why we talk about the power. The link between the sitter and the spirit is tenuous, so it can be broken, so to speak. I don't really like using that phrase because that's not really what's happening, but it can be lost to some degree, lessened. So when we are making a link to the spirit world, we are wanting to stay nice and open and relaxed and surrendered, that soft focus. That's going to help us to keep and maintain that link because we're passive, we're open, we're passive, we're receptive. When we start to effort or try or get any of that tension, it starts making that little tube smaller and smaller. And then eventually what can happen is it can feel like it's gone altogether. That's what people say, oh, I lost the link or I broke the link. And so what we want to do is figure out how do we maintain the link, right? And then also, if that does happen, what happens then? Because I think some people will say, oh, the spirit's left or whatever. That's not really the case. It's your awareness that has changed. So you became too focused on either yourself or the reaction of the sitter. So your awareness was no longer relaxed and open. And therefore there was so much tension that you weren't in a receptive state anymore. So when we feel that sort of weakening of the link, right? So in a link, at any point it can strengthen, and at any point it can weaken, all based off of what we're doing, right? How well are we communicating? Are we feeling nervous? Are we feeling relaxed? Do we feel happy? Do we feel, anxious or whatever? All those things are going to play a role in our experience, and they will either diminish or strengthen. The nice thing about knowing that, though, is that means we have the power to change it at any time. So whether you're not doing, like, it feels like it's not going so well, in the next breath that can entirely become something different if we are open to it, right? So the next breath we can go, okay, cool, that second ago I was very tense. I relax into what I'm experiencing, and then whoosh, here comes that power again. We can feel it a lot stronger. So just know that that can change at any moment. Don't think just because it's not working right now or it feels weak right now that that's how it's going to be the rest of the time. Does that make sense? So we have this. When we are speaking, the sitter to the medium, right? This is an important connection. So we are still in some way exchanging energy here. So every time that the sitter says something to you, their vibration of their voice can really help to empower the communication, not just because it goes to the medium, to the spirit, but also because it empowers the medium to either feel relaxed, to feel surrendered, it just does something. You'll notice that actually it's the vibration of the voice that plays such a helpful role in increasing what's going on. Now, a lot of students will be like, but when they say no, everything goes, right? Because we feel like we're not doing well, we get tense. That's part of the journey of the medium, is learning how I can become indifferent about no's. Like, no's don't actually impact me. But that takes a little training, because so many of us are afraid of rejection or afraid of being wrong, or we're trying to prove to ourselves that we can do this. So that voice is going to challenge us when it's a no. However, it doesn't have to. If we can learn to follow, what do I feel in the energy? How does it change? A yes or a no can actually give us more information, more energy, more blending, more power in the communication. So you want to think of it in those terms. And really the whole reason that the spirit's even here is for this person. So the more that there is love, the more that there is connection, the more there is desire for that, link or whatever, that is what strengthens this link kind of this way, right? So the more that this person, better relationship that they had, that can also help. or more close. I mean, there's a lot of different things we can say about this sort of access of this between the two people, because that's the whole point that the medium's even sitting in the room with them, right? Is because this relationship from the sitter to the spirit is the whole point, basically, because they're trying to make that link and connection for this person. So that's kind of like the triangle of communication. That's generally what we call it. It's the mechanics of mediumship. So I want you to really utilize the voice. So what do I mean by that when I say utilizing the voice? When we're working with our partners, we will be employing a system of how to get validation from our partner. As we experience information, or we experience the change from moment to moment, we're going to be saying, here's what I'm experiencing. We want to elicit a response from our partner by how we phrase how we phrase the information. So one thing will be, does that make sense to you? Right? Can you understand that? Right? Another one might be you would understand that your father worked with his hands, right? You would understand that your grandmother died at 98, right? You're making a statement. You're not asking a question. You're saying, this is this, and that makes sense to you. Correct? Like, basically. So you want to make a statement. You don't want to ask questions. If you ask questions of your partner, what ends up happening is that you start to rely on your sitter's answers rather than getting it from the spirit world. So it's so important for you to make statements about what you're experiencing, although it often feels safer to say, put it in the form of a question. I'm having a hard time thinking of how to do that because I'm so used to saying it the other way. But like putting it into the form of a question, like, who's John, right? Did your mom have a lot of kids? Like, if you say that, like, for example, did your mom have a lot of kids? You're asking that because you're experiencing something. So you may be experiencing seeing a bunch of kids in your head, and because you're unsure, you're saying, did she have a lot of kids? Even though you clearly were seeing a lot of kids, or you just didn't have the context of what you wanted, of what that meant, what your experience meant to you. So it's important for us to place these things in a statement. So if I saw a lot of kids, and I feel the desire to say, did your mom have a lot of kids? Instead, I want to describe what I was experiencing that made me want to ask that question. Does that make sense? Good. I have the little triangle of communication. I have how we're going to say things. And then what I want from your sitter, the person getting the reading, I want them to only answer everything with yes, no, I don't know, or I need more information. I don't want you to add anything to that. I don't want you to say, yes, that's my grandma Betty who died when she was 38, right? Like, you don't want to give information to your medium, because you know what's going to happen? Your medium's going to go directly into their thinking mind, and they're going to want to try to figure it out, or they're going to start piecing things together. This is why when we do these readings with each other, which you'll do from now on, the sitter is going to take notes about what the medium is saying, whether they're right or wrong. They're going to take notes about what the medium is saying, so that at the end we can give feedback to our sitters or to our mediums about what made sense, what didn't make sense. So what we mean by feedback is, it doesn't mean I'm judging my medium as like, oh, I think you did a good job, or, oh, you know what, you could do better, you could do this. Like, it's not that. Feedback is, oh, okay, so I see that you wrote, or I see that you said, my grandmother worked with her hands her whole life. That is true. She worked with her hands as a carpenter. And your medium might go, oh, dang, I saw her working on wood, but I thought that was so weird, so I didn't say it, right? That helps to teach your partner, hey, this was what that was. Or maybe you were getting some more information that you just didn't say. So we're really just going through the information, and we're kind of coloring it or filling it in a little bit for our partner, so that our medium can learn, okay, this was my mind, this was not my mind, and they learn to have that discernment. Does that make sense? Good. So this is why it's so important for us to just say, yes, no, I don't know, or I need more information. If you add to that, you are going to get your medium in their mind, and we want to avoid that. Sometimes it's going to feel uncomfortable and weird. You're going to be like, I don't know if I should answer yes. I don't know if I should answer no. Part of that makes sense. So you can say things like, part of that makes sense. You can do clarifying. Yeah, I can take some of it, not all of it. You can say things like that. Just make sure that you're not, adding more than just clarification. Okay. Megan?
So something I learned early on in my development is to remember that it's not about you. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as the medium, like, I have to get this information. I have to be the one doing all this and that. And that's not the case. All you are is the vessel. All you are is needing to describe exactly what it is that you're experiencing, whatever stimulus that is, whether that is feeling, seeing, hearing, knowing. Your job is to only just describe that and give it. That's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about, am I right? Am I wrong? I mean, we do in a sense, but at the same time, that's not really what you need to focus on. The focusing is on, what am I receiving from spirit? You don't need to worry about, is this person going to, understand this, accept this, all of that stuff overall, right? That's up to them, whether or not people are going to take what you're saying and accept it. When it comes to practicing and working here, we do need to hear that yes, no, I don't know, because you're going to have an understanding of discernment. So why that's so important here and when you're first starting in development, especially, is because you're going to recognize whether you're going into your mind with the information or you are receiving it from spirit or whatever is going on with why you're saying what you're saying. So hearing that yes here, hearing that nice, clear yes, will not only empower your mediumship, but will help you understand what's going on with me as the medium. Where am I with what I'm bringing forward? When we're first starting here today, we want you to bring forward everything that you're aware of, everything that you experience, whether that is just part of you making it up in the moment. We don't want you to think about that necessarily today. What you'll find is that through getting the feedback, you'll start to understand what's going on. So today we really want you to focus on just making sure that you're trusting the experience, trusting whatever is happening. We will be focusing on making sure that you're starting your connection properly. That's what we really, really focus on, especially here in the foundations course is, and what does that even mean when I say we're starting it properly? What we've learned to be doing so far is moving into a state of attunement, right? And that's where we very first start the process. So that's where we learn to settle the mind, to quiet it, to move into a sensitive state, to move into a place of receptivity, to expand out our awareness so that we're aware of more than just ourselves, and to become aware of our own energy. That's the first really big important part, because that's how we can tell, oh, something is starting to change within my energy. I can feel there's a change. There's someone, whether that, what we've experienced last week, our spirit guide. Today, we're going to be having an intention to be bringing forward a spirit loved one for our partner. Noticing, what does that feel like? How does that change? When we start to work, we're going to be doing an example with you guys. So like showing you how to do this, with someone working today. But basically wanting you to start to narrate or describe whatever you're experiencing. So whether that is all of a sudden I start to change, my energy is open, I start to feel there's a tingle, there's a sensation on my right side, there's a heaviness, there's a heat, whatever that may be, we want you to learn to speak and express that as it's happening. And as that starts to change, you'll start to get new information. But it's really important that you don't hold on to your experience, that you start to use your voice to describe it. That is how we start to get that energy moving. It's really important that you understand that concept. So the same with like that triangle that Michael was talking about, it's the same concept, except we are now moving that energy from spirit. We're saying it, going back to the sitter and back around again. It's the same sort of thing. And so, yeah, so basically I want you to know, like, to take the pressure off yourself, like to not be afraid to experiment, to try and see what happens today, and to not feel like you have to get, the birth date of your, the person's grandmother and how they passed. But if that information comes, say it, whatever. Say it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really important point there. So when it comes to, so basically I want you to think of today as, I just have to narrate what my experience is. That's really all you have to do. It's like, This is what I'm noticing. This is what's happening. And through the yeses and nos is how you're going to develop discernment. So you're going to get nos. Be okay with that now. Accept it. Be like, yep, I'm going to get some nos today. That's going to be great. Because you're going to get yeses, you're going to get nos. And it doesn't mean that you're not a medium. It doesn't mean that, oh, just because today I was not able to get something, or I got a lot of no's or whatever, that somehow means that's going to be true for you for forever. It absolutely does not. So we have a tendency to kind of paint the future with whatever we're experiencing right now. Whether that's all yeses, whether that's all no's, whether that's a mixture of both, we have a tendency to be like, I'm an amazing medium because I got all yeses in this reading. And then another time, I'm a piece of whatever because I got no yeses or I got all no's, right? We tend to go, I'm just this. Don't make any proclamations about what you're capable of at this stage of the game. You are infantile at this moment in your development. You know what I mean? You have an amniotic sac, whatever, right behind you. You know what I mean? Like it's brand new. So, and even if you're not at that stage, just know that the principle is still the same, where you're just narrating your experience and let whatever is coming out of you come out of you. I think that sometimes, especially if we've had some experience, we tend to have more pressure on ourselves because we think, or we were taught by others that, oh, you're supposed to get X, Y, Z. Use today as a way to free yourself from that and just go, I'm going to give whatever I can. And if it happens, it works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So we want to really learn how to narrate our process. I don't need details. I don't need specifics today. I just want you to talk about what you're experiencing. You're welcome to give whatever details and specifics you want, but if you don't have them, if they're not what's coming to you, then that's a problem. Or not a problem, that's not a problem. You just give what you're experiencing, whatever that looks like. Narration is going to be the key to your mediumship, because what the tendency is to want to just kind of hold it all in and not speak about it. And so what ends up happening is like we're waiting for something very obvious and powerful, and then we just kind of wait there and wait there and wait there. And then we don't end up moving anywhere because we're not giving the energy somewhere to go. So you have to think about it as like, the checkout stands and how they automatically move, right? These don't automatically move. They only move when you talk. So if you talk, it's actually going to make the checkout stand thing move so that the next piece of information can come down the aisle, right? So you want to talk about whatever your experience is, which we'll demonstrate for you today. Let me just see if there's anything else important I need to mention. We'll talk a little bit of, I think we should probably wait to talk about what evidence is until after they try, because part of me wants to just go with whatever's happening to you.
Yeah.
Let me just jump into some of these questions really quick. Sandeep.
Okay, so Michael, my question is like, suppose we're sitting in mediumship and I see some picture, some image. Let's say I see an image of a house or something. And should I tell that I'm seeing the image of this house, or should I give what I feel about that image?
Yeah, good question, Sandeep. It's a little bit of both. So I want you to describe exactly what you see, and then I want you to talk about what does it make you feel. So I want you to do both, actually, because at this stage of the game, in a perfect world, you'd be leaning a little bit more into what you're feeling over what you're seeing. But I know people are going to get pictures, and some people are going to naturally have an accurate clairvoyance. And so I don't want to deter them from, working with that. So I want you to give both today, because you may see that, oh my gosh, I thought I was clairvoyant, but every time I talk about my pictures, I'm wrong. But when I talk about the feeling about it, it gives me a yes, right? So we start to learn that discernment between the two. So I want you to describe exactly what you're seeing, and then notice what's the next thing that I feel, or what is that making me feel as I talk about it? Because a context comes through feeling. Okay. Does that answer your question, Sandeep?
Yeah. And I got another question.
Yeah.
And that is, when I try to give reading, I take long pauses in between.
Yeah.
I try to feel what's coming, or try to come for the next bit of information. Then I give one information, then I wait. And like I've been told to go more fast. and I find it very difficult to move with that pace.
Yeah.
So I give an information, then I make a pause. And then I try to tune into myself, what I'm feeling, what's happening. Then I
Yeah.
get something, again pause.
Yeah.
So
So
I
let's
find it very difficult to overcome this.
what's
pauses.
what's happening there is that you are, when you're speaking to your partner, you're disengaging the spirit communicator. And so you're taking your attention off of what you're getting and you're taking it to your sitter when you're talking about what's happening. So because of that, you're breaking that sort of link for a moment. And then you have to take a moment to pause to reconnect back in. So what you want to do is pay attention to the communicator the whole time and just narrate, which is what we're working on today, narrate what's changing from moment to moment rather than, okay, I got this thing, I sat with it long enough to understand it, to now speak it to you, right? We don't want to do that. We want to go, okay, now this is happening. Now this is happening. I'm experiencing this. And you're just saying, does that make sense to you? Okay, great, because I'm also experiencing, right? So you're doing this sort of process of narration. So today I want you to just talk about whatever's happening. In fact, sometimes having some sort of connective phrase like, and as I relax into that, or as I let go, that'll help to kind of bridge that pause. And you'll find that actually the less I pause, the more information can come. So talking moves that little energy thing along. But those are the two things I would suggest. Megan, if you want to take over questions for a second, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also want to add, so we're learning how to narrate in the moment. So like Michael was saying, we're not getting the information, sitting with it, trying to understand it, and then trying to talk about it. That's not what we're doing. We're wanting to avoid the brain, and the understanding part is the brain. So we want to just describe it as it's happening. What we also want to do is to learn how to do that without interpreting. There was once an example in a former class, which I loved, where we were doing, I think this sort of a day, and she said, oh, it felt like a cat licked my face. That was an interpretation of what she actually felt. What she actually felt was some energetic sensation, right? So to describe, I'm feeling some energy on my face. That's what the difference is, right? So it's going from I'm feeling energy on my face to, ooh, the energy that I'm feeling on my face, I'm now interpreting into, it feels like a cat is licking my face, which is not what she was actually experiencing. Do you understand the difference? So one is our brain trying to make something into something else, which will not get you, I guess, I can promise you that, because the spirit world will deliver things in a specific way that will be understood by the sitter. So try to not let yourself go into a place of interpretation, because that's you kind of putting your own understanding, your own spin on it.
You guys kind of answered the question. Normally I kind of word vomit everything. So now I have to, do we have to try to narrate it while like put it into a story?
So it's not about putting it into a story, but when you're word vomiting, you can still sort of do that, but what you need to be doing is making sure you're getting a yes. So if you're saying, he's showing me a yellow bird, he's showing me a yellow bird. Can you understand that? Do you see the difference? So we're kind of going, instead of he's showing me a yellow bird, and then there's a house over there, and then, oh, he's also showing me something about his shoes. And then he's showing, there's something about them, like there's a difference. Do you know what I mean? So we're making sure that with each piece of information, we're getting some sort of confirmation that yes, it's understood, because that is the part that's important about the evidential mediumship part, is that it can be validated, right? So it's learning how to, the reason why you do that, and people do that, is because of confidence a lot of times. So when we are just in our own experience and just sort of talking, it's easier because we're not getting in our mind and thinking, is this accepted? Do they understand this? Any of that. So we have to learn to just be okay with again, getting no's or it being wrong, but not worrying about it. It's about having an indifference to the outcome. That is something you guys are going to need to focus on a lot here. The indifference to the outcome, so important, because we tend to put so much stress and pressure and all of that because we're so worried about it being right. And so we can't do that. We can't really be open and receptive as much as we need to, because it brings in tension. And that tension is going to cut off or diminish that openness and that ability to be receptive. So is there any specific question around like how you should do that, Mai, or
Well, I was just wondering, I guess also, can we do that? Can I say a few things and then validate those grouping of things, or do we have to validate every single thing?
So when we're first starting a link, and I know we're not going over evidence right now because we wanted to see what your experience is, but when we're first starting a link and we're establishing who the communicator is, then we will give a couple things like, I'm aware of your grandfather, or let's just even start with the simplest. I'm aware of energy coming into my left. It starts to feel like a man. He does make me feel a sense of a grandfather. He also makes me feel like he would have passed from, I'm just being very general, something in my lung area, whatever he's making me feel. And then I would say, can you understand who this person is? Because they have to be able to get it in their mind of who this is. If we just start throwing random things at people, most of the time, it's going to be hard for them to figure out who this is for them. Does that make sense? So that's the time where we want to do that. And then after we've established who that is, then we want to go pretty much piece by piece, right? Unless you feel like there's something more that needs to come around that one specific piece of information you're talking about, then you can see, okay, there's more here, and then I'm going to check in about that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. Susie?
Okay. Are we, when we are trying to connect a link with a spirit or a loved one, are we going through the transitioning of sitting in the power, attuning, and then making the connection with the spirit, or we just?
So when we're working, we're mostly just sitting in attunement. So sitting in the power is something separate that's done just for you and your development. When we're working, we're just tuning first, which for some of us, when you get to a certain point, that will be pretty short. For some of us, we need a little more time in the beginning to get really sensitive and still and quiet. And then we move from there. It's a lot about what am I experiencing? How am I feeling? And then putting out the intention of I want to connect in with a loved one for my partner, and then learning how to just wait and sense and feel, right? We're waiting for a change. We're waiting for, okay, there's now something new that's coming in. I'm going to start talking about it, even if it's super slight, even if it's the tiniest little change. You want to start that engine going and get that energy starting to move. And as we talk about it, they get closer. We get more comfortable, we get more open, the link starts to get nicer, and we start to get more information through that. And so that is basically that process.
So is it, for example, when we're sitting in power, we're letting all the images just pass us by like a cloud. In this case, everything that comes through, we spit it out.
Yeah. So what we learned in sitting in power is that noticing, accepting, letting go. Now, instead, we're noticing, accepting, and speaking about it, and then opening up, noticing what's the next thing that's coming. So it's this constant sort of conveyor belt of information coming through.
Sorry, just to clarify that phrase. So
yeah,
we learned notice, accept, let it go. Now it's notice, describe, let it go.
Yeah. So if you want to use, describe, narrate, whatever's changing is what you want to start talking about. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Susie?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do now, I think actually, Megan, I think we'll take our break early. We'll work with someone. So think about who wants to be courageous today and work in front of the group as an example. And then when we come back from our break, we'll work with that person first, and then we'll move immediately into your first time working with a partner, which will be great. So go ahead and use the restroom, grab water, and when you're ready, you can come back. Okie dokie, everyone. So what we're going to do, oh, Taylor's got a question. Taylor, what's up? You are muted.
Okay, this is going to be really quick. It's pertaining to what we're doing today, but I wanted to ask what it is what we're experiencing today. Is it supposed to be like what I experienced? So I remember maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I'm in the car and, I'm just in the passenger seat, eyes closed, just just vibing out. And I just get this image of a lady holding a watering can. It's not as if I really saw an actual person or somebody that I knew, but I was in the car with my boyfriend and I asked him, I'm like, just to see, because I don't just get images out of anywhere. So I just wanted to see like if it meant anything. I asked my boyfriend, I'm like, do you know like somebody that is like into gardening or just likes to water plants or whatever? I'm just like, yeah, my grandma does. Like she loves flowers and she likes to garden and stuff like that. So what we're doing today, like, am I supposed to be like doing the same thing as like I see? Like, do I ask the person like, does this mean something to you, or is this important?
We're going to show you an example of exactly what you're going to be doing today, right now. So if you still have that question afterward, we'll be happy to kind of clarify that for you. So we're about to do that example. So let us know if that answers that for you so you can see exactly what you should be doing. Okay.
So what I'd like you to do is, I'd like a volunteer, but I'd like somebody that is not used to doing this already. So someone that's newer, maybe hasn't made a link before, but I'm going to walk you through the whole process. And while I'm walking the person through the process, I'd like everyone else that's not the one working to also attune when I move them into the attunement process. So this will be your time to do that, as I'm working with whoever I'm working with. So who would like to, don't be afraid. Try to just give yourself the opportunity. Mai, are
I'm-
you new at
yeah.
this?
I'm not new at this, but if nobody else volunteers, I will take it.
Okay, let's see. Noe, are you new?
Yeah, I'm totally new. So I've never
Okay.
experienced a mediumship reading in my life. I've only ever done psychic readings. And so I would be fresh.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you for volunteering. Appreciate that. And thank you, Mai, for also volunteering. Okay, so what we're going to first do is we're going to tune, which is again going to be always the first step of any kind. We're going to be starting any kind of this work. Okay, so I want everyone, and Nomi, I just want you to just close your eyes. So everyone just get comfortable to attune also. So you guys go, you're going to walk through the attunement process with me as I'm attuning her. And then I want you, after you're done with the attunement process, not you, Nomi, everyone else, then I'll have you guys open your eyes and kind of pay attention to what's going on as I'm walking her through a connection. Okay. So just go ahead and close your eyes and get comfortable. We're just going to start by breathing. Just following the inhale and the exhale. Beginning to let your mind find its natural place of rest. And now I want you to take your attention into the body, into the space for you, where you feel a connection to that inner spark, whether that is your solar plexus or your heart. And I want you to allow this space to begin to open. As you breathe in, you fill this space with love. Allowing it to begin to fill your body with a sense of peace, a sense of stillness. Not thinking it, but feeling it. Good. Now allowing this to begin to move just outside of the body. Where you may become aware of your arms, your legs, space just around you, allowing it to begin to expand. Okay. Allowing this to open even further, to fill more of the space in front, behind, to the sides and above. Not forcing it, but just allowing. Good. Allowing that to open just even further, like a nice open sail all around you, filling the room, the space that you're in with your energy. Allowing yourself to become aware and receptive. Noticing any tingles, any sensations that you currently have. And noting that this is your own power, your own energy right now. Notice how it feels. Now I'm going to have everyone but Nomi allow yourselves to stay passive, stay in this sensitive state, but to open your eyes and to pay attention to the exercise. Nomi, I'd like you to send a thought out to those in spirit to ask for someone to come forward, for someone in this group. Just ask once and then wait. I want you to describe any changes that you start to become aware of.
I feel on my left arm, my upper left arm, like a warm sensation,
Good.
even though my body is quite cold,
Good.
almost a tingling sensation. I am seeing an image of like a grandmother, but not someone with gray or white hair.
Good.
I am seeing a woman with brown curly hair. She's a little heavier set with glasses. She looks like she has rosacea, a redness to her cheeks.
Good. And what are you feeling around you?
I feel a lot of joy, like a lot of lightness, like laughter,
Good.
like a happy feeling.
Good. What's the next thing you're aware of?
Oh, I'm seeing kind of like a backyard, a clothesline, like clothes being hung with pins on a line, house with siding. It's like a light yellow, white frame window. It's on cinder blocks, so it might be like a mobile home. I see a little dog, like toddler toys in the yard.
Good. What's the next thing you're aware of?
A lot of heat, it's like outside summertime. Feeling really warm now. I see this woman. She's like in a house dress, and she's the one that's hanging up the clothes, and she's singing.
Good. And what do you feel around you? What do you feel? Do you feel her there to the left side still?
Yes,
Okay,
it's like I am standing and I see her face on, but she's to my left.
good.
And I can see like the clothesline in front of me. It's not directly in front of me, but everything's to the left. So I'm like
Good.
almost diagonal.
Good. And do you get any feelings that start to arise within you when you feel her presence next to you?
Yeah. It feels like she wants to invite me into her house, like I'm here to visit with her. And oh, it's like I starting to smell something sweet, like cherry pie.
Okay. So what I want to do now is check in with those here. Can anyone understand a woman like this, a grandmother like this, with these descriptions? And Nomi, you just stay open. Brittany, you can understand. Anyone else? Just want to make sure. Okay, great. So Brittany, can you unmute? And then we want to hear your voice. So Nomi, I just want you to say what you're aware of now. And then I want you to say, do you understand that, Brittany? And get her voice.
Okay. I'm getting the name Peggy. Does that resonate with you?
No.
Okay.
Good. Now let that go. What's the next thing you're aware of?
It looks like this woman enjoyed, I don't want to say cigarettes, but I don't know if it's like a pipe, but she liked to smoke sometimes.
Partly.
Okay. Okay, I'm inside of the home. And I see like the walls are kind of like wood paneled. And there's like a lazy boy, kind of like a recliner chair. And she's sitting in it. And her TV is like in front of her. And I see like, it looks like NASCAR, like cars racing.
I'm not sure.
So
Okay.
Nomi, I want to try to move you more into the space of feeling and
Okay.
away from visuals for now.
Sure.
So I want you to describe more of the feelings that you're getting. So more of the sensations, more of the emotions, more of that, more of her.
Okay. Definitely a loving person. She wanted the whole family. That's what it feels like. Family gathering. Everybody comes to grandma's house. She's going to make you your favorite food. Like she just wants to shower you with so much love. Being around grandkids, being around other kids, like her children, just it's like the light of her life. That's what I feel like. She's just overjoyed to just have people around her, even if it's just sitting there to watch TV. I think that's what that feeling is.
Yes. Yes.
Good. So now we're getting yeses with feeling. I want to highlight that.
Okay.
Okay. So continue with the feeling.
She loved cooking. I think that's how she showed love, was through food. I'm seeing her in the kitchen and she's like almost like beckoning me, like, come, let me show you what I'm making. Yeah, I see that pie, I smell it. I'm getting like, it's funny, it's like a chicken stew, but it's that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this. This is somebody's favorite food and they're coming over to see me and I'm making this for them.
Good. So now I want you to say, do you understand that?
You understand that?
Yes.
So what's the next feeling you're aware of?
It kind of goes a little dark. I'm seeing this woman is in a hospital bed, the family surrounding her, everyone's sad. It's almost like she's sedated. So I don't know if like she became ill, but I'm like in a hospital right now. So it's kind of a solemn feeling. You know, everyone's like, she was like the matriarch of the family. Ooh, okay, I'm feeling a sensation in my feet and in the lower part of my legs.
Good. Check in. Make sure you're checking in, getting her voice.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Good. So
Um,
see if there's one more thing and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But
okay. I feel like this is kind of like her showing me her passing, but like she's aware that everyone is there and she still feels so much love, but she's at peace, but it's like she didn't want to leave, but she knows that she has to. Does that
good.
make,
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nomi. Thank you, Brittany. Um,
Yeah.
and good. So I want you to tell me about your experience just now and what it felt, how it felt different when you were going into visuals versus feeling for you.
When I went into feeling, because visuals are really strong for me, when I went into feeling, it was almost, I could hear of her voice talking to me instead of like a movie scene, if that makes sense. I could almost hear this woman being like, come to my house, let me show you, this is this and this is that. So it's kind of like she's guiding me around.
Did
Yeah,
you
that's
feel more
the feeling that I got.
connected to her as a
Yeah,
person through
yes,
feeling versus something far away in the visuals that you're getting, right? And
exactly.
right. And so, but also, like I was saying, you know, you started getting yeses when you were getting the emotion, getting through
Yeah,
the feeling. And so that's where we really want to focus today, especially. And we're not saying don't give visuals, but if you start to give them and you're getting no, there's something for you to kind of realize about that. Okay. So move into
yes,
feeling and let the feeling start to give you more about the person, and that closeness will start to draw even closer, right? That closest with them and more about their lives. That's really where we want to start with this. So very good. Did
you.
everyone understand that, what we're doing? There are questions around what we're doing as we're going to be moving into the rooms with a partner. Also, really quickly, before we move on to that, Brittany, I would like to have you give some feedback so that you can talk about, you know, what the feedback of the difference between when you're saying no versus yes, but just like you give some feedback to Nomi about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right from the beginning, when you first started describing, a heavier set woman, curly hair, not gray or white, I like got chills instantly. I just like knew. I'm like, I call her my vava, my grandma. And pieces of what you were saying at the beginning, I definitely resonated with. But when you started talking about a mobile home, I was like, not so much. But when you're talking about like hanging stuff on, the wire, I was like, yes, yes. And then when you started talking about like the visuals, at first when you said like watching TV, because she loved watching soap operas, like sitting down, relaxing, watching soap operas. But then when you talked about the race car, I was like, oh, like, I don't think so. Like, I know like my grandpa loved cars and like my grandpa was a big smoker, but not my grandma. And then when you started talking about like the feelings, it was like, yes, like she loved cooking, not necessarily chicken stew, but she was a huge like cook, and she loved doing like sweets as well. There was one you said cherry pie, but I was envisioning like this Portuguese dessert that she would make all the time. And she just loved being, and like when you said she was the matriarch, like my grandpa passed years before she did. So she was exactly that. And she loved having the family over, and we lived like a distance away from her. So like when we'd go to visit, it would be for months at a time. So we'd stay with her in her house, and basically everything you said feeling wise like hit hard. For sure. I was like, yeah, like you're describing my grandma 100%. And I mean, I got emotional. I know you couldn't really see because your eyes were closed, but you definitely, it hit home for me. And yeah, it was, yeah, you did a really good job, but I definitely resonated more with the feelings as opposed to the initial visuals. Not that the visuals were totally wrong, because there were
Like a piece of it's like
yeah,
what
yeah,
what was happening was like you would get like an initial something, but then your mind wanted to go into a story with it. There was
Yeah,
like, I got a something, and then here's a whole story around that something that I got. So that's where we don't want to go. That's the interpretation
yeah,
part we don't want to add. And so that will go from a yes, a sort of yes, to like a no, right?
yeah,
So we're gonna go into that.
yeah,
Good.
definitely.
Awesome.
yeah. I was
Michael,
gonna
I
say
can
the
hear you.
hospital.
You're muted on your microphone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So great job, Nomi. That was really, really good. I don't want others to see that and go, oh, I'm supposed to be at that level, because obviously Nomi has had experience with reading psychically.
Yeah.
So she can easily speak about what she's experiencing. She has confidence already in kind of being able to describe things. So that's a great example of what it looks like when you're confident. If you are not confident, do know that all you literally have to describe is, I'm sensing and feeling an energy or a pressure or a presence here on my right side. As I relax into that, I start to notice whatever shift and change. It feels like it's getting stronger. Maybe I start to feel hot. As I relax into that, okay, this sort of feels like a lady or a man, right? Trust whatever it is that's coming to you. You're just going to say it. Okay. Don't worry if you didn't get all the details that Nomi got, because she again has experience with having given a reading of any kind, right? So it can feel very, very intimidating. So I want you to just let yourself roll with whatever you're giving. If you don't ever establish who the communicator is, that's okay. But what a great example for us to have to see what is possible. And that's what was really good about that. So awesome.
I just wanted to know your thoughts about pre-linking, like before you
Yeah,
get
you
into
don't want to pre-link. So pre-linking is getting a spirit communicator before you're actually in front of your partner. And so I don't want you to do that, because I want you to learn how to move in the moment with the experience. I don't want you to be working off of something you had. I want you to be working off of what you have right now. Okay.
I never pre-link ever. It's always in the moment, always. That's how you build the power. You can't build the power off of something that happened before.
Exactly. Susie?
For example, when is it Noemi or Naomi? I'm sorry. When she was talking about this pie, and she actually like made it specific to like a cherry pie. That's what she thought. Would it be better? I mean, it resonated, but it was a different pastry, let's say. Would it be better just to be like the generic, like I'm smelling sweets and like
It all depends on exactly what she saw. So if she actually saw a cherry pie, right? She just says cherry pie. But you can understand that the visual was not correct, that to be specific. It was the feeling of that. She created sweet. So that's why we're saying sometimes your picture will be exactly what it is. Most times it'll likely be the feeling that it's giving you. So that's why I'm saying at this stage of the game, give both.
Give
right?
everything.
Yeah, give everything.
thank you.
Okay, great. So we have the rooms already opened. What I'll probably be working with someone as because we're an odd number.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I'll probably be working with someone.
I'll be going through the rooms, helping where you guys need to. If you guys start to feel stuck, like if you start to feel like a tension or like I've gone into my head, you don't have to be stuck there. Just go, okay, I'm going to go back to what I just did with the attunement process. I go back into feeling, going back into opening myself up, start over. It's okay. Start where you are. It's okay if that happens. Just know that you don't have to stay there.
Good. It's all about narrating. So whether it's wrong, whether it's right, just describe your experience. Obviously, there's varying levels in the class. So some people are going to be able to give you a full-on reading. Other people are going to just be able to describe whatever sensations they're experiencing. If that's the case, hold space for them, be supportive of them, really help to create a really safe, comfortable place for everyone. We want everyone to do well. So that's going to be really, really important. If anyone has any issues, you can always raise your hand in the room. There's a button somewhere in there that lets you ask for help if you need it. And Megan will be able to come help you. So, right. So you're just going to go in there, you're going to decide who's going first. Then you're going to allow yourself to just become quiet for a moment. And then you can start talking about whatever sensations, energy sensations you're feeling. And then just let that unfold. Remember, notice a sensation, describe it, let it go, then relax more. Okay. And then I start to notice this. Describe it, let it go. Relax more. And what you'll see is that it'll unfold. A communication unfolds and deepens and becomes more specific as you go along. So don't expect that you need to be there right away. Even if you just feel sensations like tingling or something, start there. But have your awareness open. Who's here? Who's giving me this information? Who's making me feel this? And then then you'll start to describe a person. Okay.
One last thing. Don't ask questions of the spirit. We didn't really cover that. Don't be like, who are you? That's you getting in your head. Just wait and be open and know that they will bring you a stimulus that has information within it. Okay.
Exactly. Susie, and then we'll start.
Are we going into the room and,
Yeah.
but are we, is there some time that we're like, okay, now it's the other person's turn or?
Yeah, so we will be posting little messages up. So if you're the one receiving the reading, please keep your eye on the screen because we'll be telling you that. You'll get probably about 10 minutes each. So to do this. And that should be right. Yeah. Yeah.
And feedback time in between.
And then we'll give you feedback. So you'll go, person does the reading for 10 minutes. You'll see little pop-ups that say, hey, 2 minutes left. And then when you see that, you know, okay, it's time to start to begin to wrap it up. Any last things that I'm getting for those 2 minutes. And then we'll say, okay, now it's time to move to feedback. You'll move to feedback for a few minutes where your partner gives you the feedback. And then we'll say, okay, now it's time to switch. And then you will switch. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and open the rooms. And I'll be working with the person who has no one in the room. So here we go.
Start the recording. So for those of you that are already in here, how did that go? Were you able to get information or perceive information that your partner could understand just through show of hands? Good. Okay, great. And for those of you that maybe were a struggle, I'd like to hear from a couple of you before we wrap up today. If anyone was having some sort of struggle, I would just like to hear, you know, if there's any questions or anything that you experienced. Okay, Mai?
So I really struggled trying to get enough detail for Haley to know who it was. Like, and I didn't want to keep, like, I didn't want to ask questions, but I tried to like just sit in it, but I was getting like very like broad descriptions of stuff.
Yeah. In the beginning, that's normal, right? So like Michael was saying before you guys went in your rooms, that I think Nomi was the one that was giving information. She has some experience, you know, at least doing psychic work. So like it's normal in the beginning to not get to the place of them knowing who it is. That's totally okay. For some people, you may have only felt an energetic shift and been able to describe that. And so that's okay. That's where we're starting from. And for some people, that's going to be, you know, we're going to move further than that. And some people, that's where we're at. And that's okay. So just know that it's a part of the journey, a part of the process of unfoldment, is that these things will incrementally start to grow and change. Keep sitting in the power, that will make a big difference. Okay. So don't worry about that too much for today. Sandeep?
Yes, Megan. My thing is like when we make the contact and we find some change in our energy field, like I found my energy spinning or spiraling in the center. So how do we make a shift from that sensations to that information that from the spirit world? I mean, that is from the kinesthetic sensations to I would say factual sense information. How do we make?
So that is, we're going to be focusing more on that next week as we're going to be doing the essence exercise and learning how to go from, you know, just physical sensations into more of the essence of the person's personality and learning how to describe that. For right now, what you always want to do, and even right now or further on, is describe what you are aware of. So if that is just physical sensations, you describe that. And then we're bringing more of awareness around us, right? So we always want to be aware of what are we feeling? What are we aware of around us in our energy? This is the space where spirit enters our energy. And as we talk about and describe whatever we are aware of, they get closer. And as they get closer, as we relax with them, they get closer to our energy, it starts to come like this. And when that happens, that's where we'll start to get more information and be able to turn that information or to turn the stimulus into information. But right now we're really learning how to just describe whatever you are aware of, but we will get more into that. Okay.
Another thing I want to share with you, I've been trying mediumship with Journey Within other classes. So my initial process was I would like to focus on the energy field of my partner or my sitter and try to tune who is the spirit that's want to connect. But today I was more focusing on my energy field how my energy field is shifting, or
Yeah.
what is the change happening in my energy field.
Right.
So you're getting, that was a little shift I got from today's learning, that rather than focusing on my sitter, I will then see how my energy field shifts
Yes.
as I try to connect.
Right.
Does
Correct.
it make sense? Are you able to
Yes.
get it? So which
So,
approach is right approach?
so what we're doing here is learning how to pay attention to the changes happening to us, right? The spirit comes to us and it's experience that comes to us, not from us, right? So it's about our experience and describing our experience. I'm not really sure what you mean about focusing on the sitter and that. I'm not quite, I haven't worked with Journey Within.
I think he was just explaining that that's how he was doing it before, which is
Okay,
tuning into the person and then finding the connection through that
I
person.
see. Okay, got it.
This is now he's saying the difference he's feeling now is, okay, I'm aware of what I'm experiencing
Got it.
rather than, focusing on what this other external energy is.
I see. Okay, yeah. So,
So yes, to correct, that is what you want to be doing. You want to be
Yeah.
noticing your experience, because you're just a little nerve ending and you're narrating as the spirit presence steps into your energy, what's changing from moment to moment. That's actually where the evidence and the information come from. It's not that we have to go get it. It's not that we have to go do that. We're learning to become passive so it happens to us. It doesn't come from us. Does that make sense? Great.
Good.
Thanks, Sandeep. Mai?
was there another?
It may be that we're not really focusing on this, but how do we stop from multiple people coming through? Because throughout the reading that I got I wasn't sure, and then like one thing hit it and I was connected to that person, but it could have been multiple people. Is that something we'll just kind of do later, to like focus on later?
Yeah. So basically right now, it's okay if that happens. Like in your awareness, you'll start to become more attuned to, is there more than one person here? Where is that information coming? It's always about, what am I feeling in the space around me? Am I aware of a change? People's energy as they come forward from spirit has their own signature, right? Has their own essence. So when they come forward, you may feel one person here with you, you may feel another person over here. So it's about learning to be open to those experiences. I wouldn't really be concerned about trying to stop that right now. Your focus with one person will get better and stronger over time. And then having that awareness open and switching between people as they come forward. We're learning how to trust the spirit world and to trust what's happening in our experience right now. And that right now, I think, is what you should focus on. So if that is happening and you have more than one person, just go with what you're aware of.
Okay, I'm just going to take the last couple of questions and we'll wrap it up. If anyone does need to go, you are welcome to go right now, because I know we're going over a little bit, but we'll take these last two questions and then we'll wrap it up.
Taylor?
So I don't really have any questions about like the process or any struggle, but I do want to know, like, is it after you're done, speaking to this person and connecting with their people, is it normal? Like, is it a certain way you turn it off, or is it normal to still feel things after? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to explain that, Megan, how to just turn it off?
Yeah. So when you're done, it is normal to still be a little sensitive. However, we're shifting our focus out of being aware around us, right? Being aware of more than just ourselves, back into what is Taylor doing, right? Taylor's going back into her head. Taylor's moving back into the normal world and paying attention here. So that's how we move from one to the other. So as you are aware now, when we want to move into that space, we go through an attunement process. We go through this space of quieting their thinking mind, moving out of that, moving into an energetic awareness and receptivity. Now we're not doing that. We're taking our focus away from that and back into just the normal things. So, but it is normal to just have a slight sensitivity at first, but it doesn't mean you have to do anything with it, right? It doesn't mean you need to be aware. What you want to pay attention to is if you are starting to like look for it, right? You have to be the one that is bringing that intention to make that connection and to be looking for that information in some way for that to continue to happen. Does that make sense? So like
Yes.
their loved ones don't come with you, they go back with them. And so now we're just like going back to normal life, right? So that's basically what it is. You don't have to, some people like to visualize, you know, or like feel like, okay, I'm bringing back my energy. I'm done now. And whatever, you know, we don't necessarily teach that because we don't really think that's necessary to have to do. But if that works for you, totally fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
the easy way to think of it, when I open my energy, I'm open. When I close when I decide I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
So-
It's about intention and thought where that is. Sarah.
Hey, so hopefully this makes sense. So when you're reading somebody and you're pulling information through for a loved one, and this is not just for like my partner, this is just like in general when you're doing this, if they're not connecting because they don't know any details about their loved ones, like let's just say they don't no recollection of like how their loved ones passed, right? Do you just continue on and bring a message, like if there's a message forward, or do you just leave it at that and then move on to the next soul that you feel? Like how do you guys handle that?
So are you saying that they can't take any of the information, or they just can't take like maybe the passing condition or something?
I guess passing and some details that come through with their loved ones.
If there's other things that they can take, but maybe they just
Okay.
don't know certain parts, that's okay. We just move over the parts that they don't know. They can always ask later someone who might know, et cetera, et cetera. Or, but if it's like they can't take any of it, then I would say, yes, go and see who else is there. So the kind of rule of thumb is if you're getting like 3 no's in a row, so to speak, you probably should reevaluate what's going on because something else is going on. And if after trying to fix that, you're still getting no's, then I would move to a different communicator.
Got it. Thank you.
And Susie, and then we'll be done.
I'm sorry, I'm just kind of piggyback on Taylor's question. In regards, for me, my question would be specifically right before I'm done with the session with the reader, with the sitter. Am I supposed to, is there anything I have to do to like, thank you to, for example, this time I was just like, oh, thank you. And then I came back here, I guess, with the sitter. Is there any specific thing that is recommended as a closeout for leaving or?
Yeah, you can always thank the spirit communicator for working with you. So just internally thank them for being there, thank you for working with you, and then thank your sitter for giving, like, allowing you the time to practice with them and connect with them. That's basically it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so appreciative of you trusting us and working with us. And I hope that you will continue to see the little jumps in growth as we go. Please keep sitting. You'll see so much benefits from sitting regularly and just allowing yourself to surrender and let go. So thank you so much. And we will see you next week.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
Likewise, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.